Hi, I'm Molly Bedard, and I'm going to be talking today about active spectatorship in film industry. From my research, I found out that active spectatorship is a relationship between an audience and a film. Films can have a huge amount of effects on an audience from simply causing an emotional response. Audience, however, can also affect a film, and particularly the extent of its popularity and its status in our culture. Audiences are made up of individuals, and a film. It is impossible to say that a film will have the same impact on each person. An active spectator can also be somebody who belongs to a fandom of a film, such as a franchise or a sequence, such as Batman, Spider-Man, and other popular films. The opposite of an active spectatorship is a passive spectatorship. If you go to a cinema just to view a film and you don't have any intention of going back to see it again or seeing the second one or any um, for the actors, then you are a passive spectator. But if the film has no effects on you and your response is blank, then you are a passive spectator. Some examples that I found of in film studies, or where the director has made their films more open to individual interpretation and have made it easier for people to read the film differently and respond to it in a different ways, are films such as the Twilight Saga. This film allows the audience to choose a side to support, as it's Team Jacob versus Team Edward. Within the rivalry of the film, it's Jacob and the wolves and Edward and the vampires, and this helps the audience to pick a side to support as the fight for Bella's love continues throughout the four-movie sequel. On social networking, fandoms follow their favourite sides, I noticed, after Googling, which allows the audience to talk to one another and discuss what teams they follow and why and things. When I typed in the Twilight Saga fandom into Google, the amount of web pages and suggestions that showed was huge. There was links to Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, there's blogs, which all talked about the fandom and explained what it was about. It is that popular that there's even a Wikipedia example of it. And when you type in Team Jacob versus Team Edward, there's even more hits and web pages regarding this. The social networking sites that support this too. There's also Yahoo, Wiki, and Ask Answers of people asking each other what side they support and why. By all this information, it's quite clear how popular this saga is. Another example of a fandom page is the Amazing Spider-Man and or Batman. These two films are about superheroes and they've been around for a long time. They began as comics. They're very famous within the younger generation, and so therefore, costumes have been made of the heroes. Twitter and fandom pages exist. Blogs exist. Results when I typed it into Google showed such as Pinterest, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook. These are all things that people have created to show that they follow this fandom and enables people to discuss the reasons why they follow it. We're going to talk about my journey now as an active spectator. I'd say I'm an active spectator because as a young girl I always wanted to be Sleeping Beauty. After watching the film and watching her journey as a princess, Disney princesses had never had any faults. They were perfect, they were perfect looking, perfect figures, perfect dresses, and they were every little girl's idol. I used to go to the Disney store and buy a new Sleeping Beauty dress at least once a month because I wanted to be her. And then after that I began being a fan of Truly Scrumptious from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. She was my idol. I literally thought I was her. At the age of 5 and 6, I wouldn't leave the house unless I was dressed as Truly Scrumptious, and I thought I looked like her. My mum had to take me in a buggy in a long white dress. When I finally grew out of that, I then became a passive spectator. I didn't often visit the cinema. It wasn't really one of the things I enjoyed doing, and when I did, it was more about watching a film for fun or someone requesting it to me. Or rather than watching it to have an effect on me or for being a fan of it. However, when I was about 15 or 16, I went to go watch Marley and Me at the cinema. I never cried so much. I cried so much. I was crying for the next 5 days just thinking about it. And then it was The Notebook and The Vow and other romance films. I got so into the films, I cried at those too. And since The Notebook, I now have a slight love for Ryan Gosling. So I'm now, let's say, a active spectator for romance films. They're my weak point. I think that active spectatorship, depending on a film and depending on the audiences, is very popular nowadays in the film industry. I'd say that majority of the audiences of well-known films is fans, either of the characters or the film's actual inner like story, or it's from if it's something's been rebooted or reimagined, and someone's seen it before, they will definitely be a fan of this, and and if it makes them cry, then they're active spectator. As well as that, I also think it's affecting culture very much too. So that's my talk about active spectatorship. Hope you enjoyed it.